Hey guys, MrPokke here, back with another video, and welcome back to Pokke's Classroom. It has been a while since we've had this series, right? This time we are going to go through CN's version 2.2 polling opinions featuring Robin, Boothill, Topaz, and Fu Xuan. And without further ado, let's get into today's content. Subscribe! So, starting off, I just want to point out, chat, 2.2, you can see over here, this Trailblazer outfit, the intricate details on the head is absolutely insane. Editors, can you just zoom in on the head, right? Very well detailed head, right? And the gloves, the accessories, the ribbons, just overall, extremely well done look for the Trailblazer, right? We have here Stele looking absolutely insane. So yeah, and now we're gonna go on to the content as usual, absolutely the same for all of our polling opinions. We are deciding between who to pull, and pre-release analysis is gonna go over the unit's speculative kit with greater details, right? Specifically, if we do get into the creator experience program, you guys are gonna see an interesting video in the future, right? If we do get in. So we are gonna be offering CN's perspective based on the live stream event, and players at the end of the day should still do their own due diligence, right? So the content is gonna be meant for free-to-plays and low spenders under the assumption that we only get one unit and one unit only, no items that we're not gonna be putting for standard junglers. So first things first, the number of pools we are gonna be getting in version 2.2. After all of the calculations, the events, 1,600 stellar jades and 10 fuels, everything that we've gotten from this day all the way up to the last day, the combined pools that we're gonna be getting for the free-to-play, so right, link one on your right, the complete free-to-play is gonna be 126 pools. For the monthly pass total, it's gonna be 156 pools, and then for the monthly pass plus battle pass card holders, that's gonna be 164 pools. From the 8th of May to the 19th of June, it's gonna be 42 days, right? As usual, these are all estimations and they're not 100% confirmed. Do want to keep in mind that for Robin specifically, you're probably going to end up having less pools compared to Boothill, since Boothill is going to be the full 42 days, right? So that's going to be that for the estimated pool income. And now going into our first unit, Robin. So she is basically our team-wide debuffer, similar to Runmei. Buffs with even higher damage output and flexibility, right? The skill, basically the same. We have a team-wide damage percentage buff, ultimate, instant team-wide action value advance, like you instantly gain a turn. It is pretty much like a dance for 100% action value. Absolutely insane, as well as dealing additional damage for each of our allies attack. Now, how much additional damage is this ultimate gonna do is gonna be the crucial part of Robin's kit, right? We have to see for greater testings with ourselves how much additional damage does state provide to our entire team, right? So that's there. And then the talent is basically whenever any ally attack, we also regenerate additional energy, although we could also gain some additional buffs based on the traces and all that kind of stuff, right? So Robin's introduction as the team-wide buffer, it brings great news for players who have missed out on Runmei, because fundamentally, both Robin and Runmei, they have a similar role, which is to amplify multiple DPS damage at the same time. But Robin's additional damage, you can say it is more flexible than Runmei's break effect and break efficiency, because it is not depending on your team being on element, right? Even if your team is on element, and this is a very glaring issue we see with the current Ratio and Topaz team comp, is that you're either off element on Topaz or you're off element on Ratio. But with Robin, it does not matter, because even while being off element, Topaz and Ratio will still trigger Robin's additional damage. So that's going to be one benefit that Robin is going to be able to provide specifically for the follow-up team comp, right? So for the supplementary 4-star, it's going to be March 7th, Hanya and Xue Yi, and I just keep it about all these 3 4-stars. Is not that great compared to like Ting Yun, compared to Pelot and hard stuff, right? Hanya does have decent utility even at lower islands for higher skill point DPS, such as in Beautiful Lane. Xue Yi's E6 greatly improves the overall kit, and March 7th's E6, it brings about a small amount of heal for some additional sustain. But let's just be real, who the hell is using March 7th as a sustain in 2024? So that's gonna be that. And now moving on to the verdict, it is going to be basically something like this. This is not, I didn't make this. The CN community actually made this. If you guys are League of Legends players, running Robin is basically equivalent to equipping a Blade of the Ruined King on every single one of your teammates, right? So because now each of their attacks, they deal additional damage, because so this Robin is basically this, but for your entire team, right? So the verdict is very simple, chat. It is a limited Harmony unit. 10 out of 10, right? At the end of the day, her value as a Harmony support, it will always be worth it, because if you take a look at the CN's usage rate for currently, right, we have Rame and Sparkle, it is still the highest amongst any support in CN. Where included, right? So you can see that any 5-star support, specifically Harmony supports, they bring about very, very good value regardless of what kind of team comp I'm going to be running for. So you will never find a place where Robin does not give value to your team, right? And overall, even if you are not going to be using Robin for, let's just say, follow-up team comp, she is still a definitive upgrade over your 4-star supports, such as Hanya, Asa, Yukong for your hyper carries, although follow-up attack team comps, they will gain the largest benefit from Robin, right? And CM believe that the team-wide 100% action value advance, it will cement her spot as a timeless support. They compared Robin's 100% action value advance with Ting Yun's perfect synergy running Dance. The reason why Ting Yun has been so bloody popular is because of the utility that she can use Dance on turn 0 instantly, just like that, and that is with only 24% action value advance. So imagine a support that has 100% action value advance, right? So there is the comparison that I'm trying to see over here. And you know, with honkaistarrail having a high reliance on support being the foundation of any team comp, any DPS, Robin, it will not bring disappointment to new players, right? So that is going to be that for Robin. All right, now let's move on to Mr. Boothill, single target break crit hybrid. His kit is basically like a upgraded version of the only other crit slash break hybrid we have, which is Xue Yi, right? His skill taunts the enemy, increase damage to both parties with an addition to the enhanced basic attack. Ultimate marks enemy with physical weakness. Keep in mind, this physical weakness, it is probably not going to be relying on effect hit rate like Silver Wolf, right? You basically, boom, physical weakness, and there it is, right? It is very, very straightforward. And then we do also have an action value delay, and then the talent is that for every single duel that Boothill wins, or every single weakness break, he gains a buff, although we do not know exactly what kind of buff it is. So Boothill's value, it is going to be very dependent on how fast he breaks the toughness bar, as well as his balance between how much break effect you want to give him and how much crit damage scaling you're going to get out of Boothill. With the physical weakness implant, physical break, and additional talent, we can only find out Boothill's actual value after testing him out in Memory of Chaos, in Pure Fiction, and in the brand new game mode Apocalyptic Shadows, right? Until that day comes, we can't really say for a fact how well Boothill is going to perform, right? So, and then for the supplementary 4-stars, we are going to see Pella, Luca, and Hook. Let's just keep it about nobody. Who the hell is Hook, right? And then Luca E6 does have the highest value out of all 3 for Luca specifically. And if you guys have not seen Luca's performance in the current Memory of Chaos, it has been pretty good, especially when you pair him up with Silver Wolf, when you pair him with Kafka. Luca E6 is honestly really not that bad, right? And Pella's E4 brings about the additional Ice Res down, as well as the fact that now her skill can also mark a debuff, which could be pretty good for your Akron, could be pretty good for your Doctor ratio and all kind of stuff, right? So that's going to be that. And the verdict for Boothill is going to be a 10 of 10 for content favoring single target. Otherwise, it is probably going to be a 5 out of 10, maybe even lower, right? Because his extreme emphasis on single target toughness bar breaking, and we have not seen any ways where Boothill can deal with mobs. He has duo, but unlike Scylla's Resurgence, he can't gain additional turns after you divert his attention onto another target, right? So if there's a lot of little mobs, and even if you were to use Boothill's skill with duo, he does increase damage, you are missing out that window of opportunity that could have otherwise been given to the boss target himself. So I wouldn't say Boothill is designed to deal with an area, a stage where there's a lot of mobs for Boothill to clear. For example, if you're gonna go up against Swarm Disaster, if you're gonna go up against a boss like Yanqing, if you're gonna go up against a boss like Argenti, who summons a lot of things, and you have to get rid of those summons, there may be a bit of an issue for Boothill, right? So a prime example that Boothill, for content that he's gonna shine, is probably gonna be the future boss killer for Apocalyptic Shadow, which is a brand new game mode that MiHoYo announced. We are not exactly sure what this is yet, but they have indicated that it is going to be something like a boss killer event, right? So CN feels that his performance, it will drastically vary between the content and team comps, and the value will only shine when the new Apocalyptic Shadow endgame is released. This is similar to Argenti's value showing up when Pure Fiction was released, right? Because before Pure Fiction was released, Argenti was, it was alright, right? In Memory of Chaos, against a physical weak stage, you cast his enhanced ultimate, he does quite a lot of damage for a single target, right? But it was only with Pure Fiction the players realized that, holy shit, he was so good in Pure Fiction. Even as of right now, Argenti remains the highest used unit of every single pure fusion, topping off even Aircron, right? Here is the undisputed king of pure fusion in CN anyways, right? We could see a similar situation happening for Apocalyptic Shadow, where the usage rate for Boothill in that mode might just be the highest in the entire game. Because I want you guys to consider this, right? We don't really have a good single target, like pure single target DPS, other than Boothill and Dr. Ratio, right? Boothill himself, he has a free physical weakness implant. So it doesn't even matter what the enemy element is, you can just use Boothill and just run with it. Regardless of what kind of enemy the boss is gonna get, right? Whatever kind of like element in the future, Apocalypse, because this is gonna be the new endgame content, you are probably gonna be able to run Boothill against the boss, since it's gonna be single target, he's gonna implant the weakness, and physical break is absolutely ridiculous, right? So that is basically all up to speculation, so we have to wait and see. For now, if we want to compare Boothill's value in our current Memory of Chaos, in our current Pure Fiction, okay, let's just keep it blunt. Boothill in Pure Fiction is probably gonna be doo-doo, right? It's probably not gonna be too good. But in current Memory of Chaos, he's still probably gonna be quite decent, as long as the boss do not summon a lot of mobs that force you to kill them. For Adventure, he doesn't really summon a lot, and he only summons the dices that needs you to hit, right? You gotta hit at multiple times, right? Another example is probably going to be like, let's just say, for example, Memory Zone meme. If you get hit with Boothill, it's Jover for you, right? Because if he grabs the thing, then it's kind of a one bomb. But if he don't grab you, you could just like snipe Memory Zone meme as soon as humanly possible, because the meme, when it enters the next phase, you get the free energy back, right? So these kind of bosses where you can kind of ignore the mobs and just go all in and kill him as fast as humanly possible, that's where Boothill's value is probably gonna shine, right? And not to mention, most if not all of our elites, right, you know, the current elites, they are relatively quick to dispatch, right? They are roughly hovering around 300, 400k HP. So Boothill shouldn't have that big of a problem just one-shotting them, which is also the same reason why Dr. Ratio has been performing exceptionally well, because even though Dr. Ratio is purely single target, he can still just kill the elites like almost instantly. Just because the health right now for the elites, they are not that high yet, right? So that is the overall verdict of Boothill. And now jumping into our reruns, the first of which is going to be Topaz. Now Topaz, she has not seen a very high usage, right, ever since the release, because there has been a lack of suitable teammates to run with Topaz. But that being said, with the release of Robin and previously Aventurine, follow-up attack team comp might become a tier 0 team comp when you slot in Topaz, right? Why this is because Robin's additional damage, it triggers from high frequency attacks. And Topaz, Ratio, Aventurine, specifically Topaz and Numby themselves, they have the highest frequency of attack in the entire game, right? No one else has a frequency as high as this specific team comp. So with the addition of Robin, we could see very, very good usage, right? The buffs and debuffs from Topaz, the proof of that, her E1, her S1, all this kind of stuff, they are very, very synergistic with any of our other follow-up attackers. Your Aventurine, your Ratio, they're all gonna benefit from Topaz buffs and debuffs. And finally, she does have very, very good fire toughness damage due to Numby's high frequency attack, which is why you can see for content that the enemies that are weak to fire, you can probably still run Topaz with this team, just because fire is where Topaz really, really shines, since she breaks toughness bar damage extremely high. However, Topaz value is basically this, right? If you are not gonna be pulling for Robin, and if you don't want to play follow-up attack mains, there really isn't that much of a need to pull for Topaz, right? And there's excellent reasoning behind this. So first of all, the main reason why this Ratio and Topaz comp has been not performing very, very well is due to the elemental mismatch. And there was only one exception, which is, I think it was 2 or 3 cycles ago, where we had the Memory Zone, the Death, right? He is weak to both Imaginary and Fire. And the new Echoes of War boss, the guy that literally mutes on screen, they are weak to both Fire and Imaginary. So in this kind of circumstances, then Ratio and Topaz is going to be really, really good. But if we do not have boss that are weak to both Fire and Imaginary, it is quite difficult for Topaz to outperform a secondary support. If we want to run like a Ratio Topaz Rame Sustain, right, it will often be in the player's best interest to just straight up change Topaz out for another support, such as Sparkle, such as Pella, such as Tingyun, to deal even more damage, because you just want your team to be on element. It doesn't make sense to run Topaz if this team is off element, right? Although the inclusion of Robin does make this viability a lot higher, since now Robin's additional attack will deal more damage regardless if the enemy is on element or off element, right? But for this, we do have to see how much additional damage Robin is going to bring. So I would say that the value of Topaz, it is not so much tied to Topaz, but it is more tied to Robin. And if players want to pull Topaz, you should consider pulling Robin first before pulling for Topaz, right? Even if you are follow-up attack mate, right? So that's gonna be that. And CM believes that Topaz is and most likely will be a niche pull for the general player base. Alright, unless you guys have every single piece of the follow-up team puzzle, which is basically Aventurine, Robin, and Ratio. And all of them are pretty much built. If you have this with enough Jades for Robin, then Topaz could be a viable pickup for this account. So you specifically run Robin, Topaz, Ratio, and Aventurine. If you do not have Robin, it would be advised to pull for Robin before considering for Topaz. Right? So that is going to be the final verdict for Topaz. And jumping into the last unit for today is going to be Fu Xuan, the strongest, the most comfortable sustain in Honkai Starbucks, right? Fu Xuan's sustain capabilities, they are absolutely second to none, right? In fact, even with the release of 2 new sustains, right? Hue and the Aventurine, Fu Xuan's comfort that she offers to players, especially new players, it is legitimately second to none, right? She has team-wide damage mitigation, team-wide damage reduction, absolutely best mechanics for free-to-play or players that are facing difficulty sustaining that team, right? Which makes it very, very easy, especially with a talent restoring herself back to full health after every single stack, which you get from ultimate, right? So you pretty much won't really face that much of an issue when you want to sustain Fu Xuan. Alright, we also get a free 12% crit rate or 24 crit value, equivalent to 6 free crit rate subsets. 6 free crit rate subsets in this economy. That's absolutely insane. Extremely useful for every single crit DPS, right? And also, she is very low investment. At E0, S0 with an average speed, HP, defense build, you can very easy sustain your entire team while still offering good AoE quantum toughness bar damage on top of the free crit rate. Although that being said, there is a potential flaw, which is big AoE hits. You might get one shot if your Fu Xuan is not tanky enough. So there is the one situation where you probably wouldn't want to run Fu Xuan and you want to run another sustain. So take that into consideration. And the pulling verdict of Fu Xuan is also very simple, right? If you're a new player or you have 0 to 1 limited sustain, you get Fu Xuan. If you have 2 limited or even more than 2 limited sustains, you don't get Fu Xuan, right? It's super straightforward, right? Because at the end of the day, Fu Xuan herself, she has withstood the test of time as being a very comfortable sustain at any point of the game, especially for Memory of Chaos, even for Pure Fiction, and most likely for the new Apocalyptic Shadow, she's gonna be able to do the job, right? The few occurrences that she might fail is only limited to Gold and Gears, and that mode itself is kind of niche anyways, right? CM believes that pulling sustain is very one-dimensional. If you can sustain your current setup in the endgame content, then there is no incentive whatsoever to pull for any sustain, including Fu Xuan. There is no incentive for you to pull a sustain if you can sustain. It is as simple as that. And the only time this will ever change is if we reach a point in the game where our current team is just simply not dealing enough damage with our current sustain with Fu Xuan, and you need like Hue's energy regeneration, you need Hue's attack buff, you need Aventurine's additional damage, right? If you need these points, you need this utility, that's when Fu Xuan wouldn't be a valuable pickup anymore. But even that being said, even if you have to face a situation where content they need you to deal more damage, you could simply just pull for an additional DPS or support idler. Because most of the time, they will increase your overall damage higher than replacing your current support, your current sustain with a new sustain. If you are running a team with a DPS, let's show you run Mei, right? DPS, run Mei, support, and sustain. And your sustain right now is Fu Xuan. It is better for you to just get Run Mei's E1 rather than changing out Fu Xuan for Hue or Aventurine. Because Run Mei's E1 does provide a higher damage ceiling compared to just changing out your sustain, right? So that is the fundamental reasoning behind whether you should pull or not pull for Fu Xuan. And there is also in before 3 team content. So if we're gonna be in a situation where MiHoYo were to release, like, you know, we need to build 3 different teams, then that's gonna be that, right? All right, so yeah, with that, the final summary, highest value without a shadow of a doubt is gonna be Robin. If you guys need sustain, pull Fu Xuan. Oh my god. Yo, editor, just help me change out Fu Xuan to Fu Xuan, right? Just, oh my god, I don't know. Just change the Fu Xuan. If you need a sustain, you can just pull for Fu Xuan, right? And then for the new comp, it's gonna be Boothill / Topaz if you want to try and dabble out in the like huge single target damage, or you want to just do the follow-up like that team comp, right? There are some potential weaknesses for the 2 new units. For Robin, from a DOT and hyper carry perspective, she inherently offers less value compared to high frequency of attack comps such as follow-up attacks, right? Specifically, Ratio, Topaz, Aventurine. So what I mean by this is that if you're in a situation where you could only pick out, like, let's just say Sparkle or Robin, and you want to play hyper carry, you would want to pick up Sparkle over Robin. Or if you are going to be playing like DOT team comps, right, you would rather pick up Run Mei than Robin, right? In this kind of situations, from a opportunity cost perspective, that's when you need to weigh your options a little bit more. But if you can get a Harmony support in honkaistarrail, you probably should get them, because what we have seen so far is every single Harmony support that they've released, they have been the absolute highest usage rate out of every single unit, because supports, they are the name of the game in honkaistarrail, right? So that's something for you to consider. And for Boothill, performance aside, right, no matter how much damage Boothill is going to do for now, DPS, they are always the first unit to get power crept in any gacha game. Even units like Jingliu, right? Jingliu has been like the strongest DPS up until Aircron was released. She has not been immune to this. So do keep that into your consideration and manage your expectations. Specifically, you need to remember that in version 2.3, we are literally getting a double DPS banner back-to-back featuring Firefly and Jade, right? So pulling for DPS, you shouldn't just only think about, is this going to be meta? Because the meta for DPS is it's gone just like that, right? You do need to consider a little bit more long-term if you're going to be putting for DPS. I do want to say that the inclusion of the new mode, which is Apocalyptic Shadow, it is very likely gonna improve Boothill's lifespan, because I don't think there's gonna be any other unit close to what Boothill has to offer, because you literally get a free physical weakness implant, and Boothill is gonna excel in single target content, right? So with Apocalyptic Shadow, Boothill's performance might be pretty good, right? So version 2.2 is gonna be looking to be a build-up of introducing more team comp fluidity with the introduction of Robin and Boothill, and considering that Firefly and Jade's release, they are in version 2.3, we could see some very, very interesting team comps that may rival our traditional 3+1 setups, right? And with that, we have come to the end of today's content. If you guys are engaged in further discussions, drop it down in the comments below or join the Discord at discord.gg/Pokke. We have a very active community talking about Honkai on a daily basis, right? If you want to check out my stream, that's twitch.tv/MrPokke. I will stream every single day, should be under the Discord, right? So that's all I have for today. Do your own due diligence. All the best for Aventurine, all the best for Arlecchino, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.